Welcome to the channel, everybody, and good morning. Let's talk a little bit of Cubs baseball. Normally, we drop these videos at 5 a.m., but I felt like the last few live shows was like after a loss. So let's do one after a win. How about a 7-0 shutout win? So you can tell I'm not in the home studio, but we're going to talk a little Cubs baseball with you today. Thanks for being here. Like, subscribe, thumbs up, and let's get this show started. What do you say, everybody? Cubs baseball channel, Mick Gillespie. Let's talk a little bit of Cubs. Let's start with last night's win, 7-zip. It was the kind of game that you love. And there's so many different things that I felt like we could talk about in this video on the show today. And I want to start with Justin Steele. He's back. Not that he went anywhere, but let me tell you something. That was the Justin Steele that we saw a couple years ago. I mean, just mixing pitches and keeping batters off balance. It was a cold night. It didn't stop him at all. And when you watch the way that he was attacking hitters last night, getting outs, you pair him with Shota and what the Boyd and Tylen have done, and then you got four guys at the top of the rotation that are really good right now, and then you have a lot of depth, and we talked about that in another video. I think 2 days ago, we're talking about all the guys you could put in that fifth starter spot if you don't stick with Ben Brown, or maybe Ben Brown gets it turned around. But 7 innings in the game, had 8 strikeouts and only 3 hits and 2 walks. This is a really good Rangers team, and he kept them off balance. And the thing I really like about what he was able to do in that game last night is that he limited the bullpen. And I worry about the bullpen. I think you guys do too. I don't feel like the Cubs have a bona fide closer with Presley. I think he's okay. And then what about Porter Hodge? He kind of did the job last year, but I don't feel like he's one of those guys that you put in there and he's a lockdown closer yet. So I don't know where this is going to lead, and good to see everyone in the comments section to throw those up there. But when the Cubs get 7 innings out of the starters, it limits the bullpen to 6. No, not 6 innings, 6 outs. And when that happens, this team's going to win, and I got to tell you this, Colin Ray's been really good. I don't even know, I put him as a potential guy that could slide into the fifth starter job if you needed him to. He started last year, but he's been really good. He was good in this game as well. And so a win for the Cubs. Now, I got to tell you something. The Kyle Tucker factor is real. And this lineup has been producing, and they've been producing against some of the best pitchers. And that was the case again last night. Nathan Eovaldi is one of the best pitchers in baseball. They attacked. I loved when John Birdie got on base, stole second, stole third, scored with the infield in on a ground out fielder's choice play. He just beat the throw to the plate. They attacked. And the problem that I had with this team last year, which is something that they didn't do yesterday, is when they would get against the best pitching, it felt like the only way that they were going to score is if they tried to hit the ball over the wall. I think that when you have a great team, you score in different ways, and you're not going to hit home runs every game. Sometimes you're going to have to use your speed, and they did that. That John Birdie's a guy who you really like, but this whole offense right now clicking. And I feel like it's because of what Tucker brings to the lineup. Andy Martinez of Marquee put out like a stat, and he was talking about that the Cubs have done a great job this year limiting starting pitchers to basically limiting them from getting a quality start, which is 6 innings, 3 or fewer earned runs allowed, right? And only 2 of them have gone that far past the 6, right? So they're attacking, they're going after these guys. I think that when you put Tucker in this lineup, he's definitely the missing piece that they didn't have last year. Had a couple more hits last night, but you have to account for him in the lineup. And then all of a sudden it makes the lineup that much deeper. Now, a lot of you guys are saying, what does the Vlad Guerrero Jr. mega contract mean to Kyle Tucker? And what does it mean to the Cubs? Well, first off, I think it's a good sign that Vlad Guerrero Jr. took the extension offer, right? And it is a big deal. How many times did we talk about him being a potential Cub. Would the Cubs be interested in him, maybe making a trade for him? But he's going to be a Blue Jay, at least for a long time. I think he got $500 million. Yeah, 14 years, $500 million, and it has a full no trade clause there. So what does that mean for Kyle Tucker, who is better than Vlad Guerrero Jr.? I just think he's a better player. Does that put him in the $600 million stratosphere? How many years does that include? Is that a no trade clause? These are all legitimate questions that I think that you could ask. And I don't know why you wouldn't ask, because it's obvious that this guy is a difference maker. I mean, he's made a difference on this team so far, and I don't think that's going to change. And obviously that's why the Cubs paid King's ransom to get him. If you sign him, and I know it's going to cost you a lot of money, but if you sign him, all those players that you gave up to have him in your lineup every day is worth it. If you go and or if you win a World Series this year, right? Then like the Aroldis Chapman trade. Well, what it is, right? But if you let this guy walk, and he's the player that I think he is, and I think everybody else agrees he is, it is going to be such a major loss for the Cubs because they gave up so much for him. So they have to be seriously looking at this. And besides that, like $600 million is a lot of money for a player. But how many players are really like franchise changing players, guys that consistently put up Hall of Fame type numbers, guys that change the lineup, that make your team better? This is one of them in Tucker. So to me, I think that like for you guys that are saying, hey, we should be talking about this. I agree. We should be talking about it because they have to be thinking about this. They have to make their investment add up to the investment that they that they put out for him. But he's been really fun to watch. He's such a great hitter. I love his hands, and I think that there's a bunch of other teams in the game right now that are looking at him the same way we're looking at him and going, hey, this guy in our lineup would be great. So the Cubs are going to have to put the money out, but they're a big market team and they can spend like a big market team. Great to see you guys in the comment section. Yeah, Jim, that was a great win. It's you take those two games that the Cubs gave away, and I know it's hard. I know you say that, but you put those in the win column, and this is a huge start, right? So with that in mind, we move forward here. Andrew, gotta love Steele. Man, he has the ace mentality. He's a great guy on and off the field, humble. I remember being around him when he was in AA and him just wanting to talk baseball all the time. I mean, like a baseball fanatic. He just loved the game. Like not every player is like that, but Steele's like that. And I can just see that there's a love for the game that he definitely has. That's fun to watch and see him have. All right. Final topic on this morning's show is this. Third base. Is there an issue at third base right now? We got to see a little bit of Workman in yesterday's game. Gage Workman hasn't had a bunch of at-bats this year. He's had like 6 at-bats. He's the guy who has to stay on the big league roster or the Cubs lose him, right? So, you got him. And then obviously Matt Shaw, who is batting 190 right now, and he struck out 12 times in 42 at-bats, right? But he does have a home run. He does have 3 runs batted in, 8 for 42. You're hearing rumors that the Cubs potentially are interested in putting going out and trading for a third baseman. I don't know how real or not those are. I feel like there's a couple of things here. First off, and it's the theme of this year's season, is that the front office has their backs up against the wall. If this team doesn't win, they're all gone. And for Jed Hoyer, who has kind of been known to basically be the ride the coattails of Theo Epstein, this is his opportunity to prove that he's better than that. And he's been the number one guy in San Diego. That turned into him coming to the Cubs as back to being Theo's assistant. If he doesn't make it happen now, he's never going to be the number one guy again. Nobody's going to hire him to run their team. as the number one guy. He'll be a part of a front office, but and he's a good guy. He's smart and all that stuff. But this is his last chance. So why am I saying that? Because I'm sure in their mind they are going to have a problem if they feel like they have to sit there and wait on Matt Shaw or Gage Workman to figure it out if the team's not winning, or if they're struggling, or if they have an opportunity to add to that position and put somebody in there every day and slowly work Shaw in or Workman in. I could see them doing that. I could see them sending Workman back to the Tigers at some point, if they feel like they need that spot on the roster. So for Workman, I'm sure there's a ton of pressure right now for him to perform, but it's hard to do that when you're not getting many at bats. And then Shaw, he looks overpowered at some point, and then sometimes he looks pretty good. Both guys I feel like have handled themselves defensively, but how much patience do you have with a rookie with everything else that's on the line? That's the first question. Now, the second thing is, a lot of players have struggled starting their career. I mean, Rhino, I remember him telling me about it. I think it was a long time between his first and second hit. Willie Mays struggled. He might be the best player of all time. But you look at, the way that certain players came in. I remember Javi Baez had hit a home run in his first game, but he struggled kind of getting going. It's just the way that Major League Baseball is. Anthony Rizzo had times where he struggled and got sent back to the minor leagues. It's a huge adjustment, but when you talk to the players that have had a ton of success their rookie year, it's because the team says to them, hey, go out and do your thing. It's your job. I can think of Cal Ripken playing for a guy named Earl Weaver, the Iron Man, and he struggled. And Earl Weaver's like, hey, you're in. So, you can go 0 for 50 and you're not going anywhere. You're going to stay in this lineup. And eventually he, turned into one of the best players in the game. And he had a great year. But see, that's the mentality that you got to have for these young players. You got to put them there. And I wonder, how much patience the Cubs will have with these guys, knowing how much is on the line. And then Demo says Shaw has some plate discipline, but swings a lot. Yeah. And look, I agree with that. See, I think that's why Shaw will eventually get it figured out, is that he knows the strike zone. And I felt like of all the young players, he walks a lot, and that will help him. Now, so far he's got 9 walks. So, you could talk about the batting average, but he's hitting 190, but his on base percentage is 333. And I think before he even played a game, you guys know, I talked about that on there. So you make a great point. And I think that's what will carry him until he kind of clicks in. And if it's me and I'm Craig Counsell, I'm saying, hey man, you got this job. You just go out there and do it. Do your thing. I think that the adjustment's going to be a lot easier for him than it was Pete Crow Armstrong, because Pete's more of a free swinger and Shaw's more disciplined, but sometimes he looks overwhelming. Look, it's big league pitching, and he's a guy that was in college a couple years ago. It just takes a while to get there. So, but we'll see what happens. I don't think third base is an issue. We're talking about 2 rookies, and, we've played, a dozen games or, around there. So anyway, Cubs will be back at it again against the Rangers tonight, another night game. And then they'll finish up with one of those beautiful day games. Tonight's matchup is going to be a pretty good one pitching wise. Patrick Corbin, big left-hander, 6'4", 225, 35-year-old. You know him. 6-13 last year with a 5.62 ERA. He is going to pitch against who's going for the Cubs? And the answer to that is Jameson Taillon. So Taillon, after I think one of his best outings of the year, will get back at it. He's 1-1 this season with a 6.97 ERA. But again, he came back last time, and I thought he had one really, really good outing. Kind of mixing that new changeup pitch he's got in, and avoiding the torpedo bats. Yeah, that's what he's got to do. Anyway, thanks for being here, guys. Get in the comment section, like, subscribe, thumbs up, do these shows. I'm going to try to pop in and do some live ones like today. Obviously, I put new content out every day, no matter where I'm at. And I thought last night's game was awesome. I mean, and I like the way that this team is hitting. I like the way they're running the bases aggressively. I think that John Birdie and Pete Crow Armstrong kind of, bring that presence to the team. It's been nice watching everything kind of revolve around Tucker and the catchers. I got to say this too. The catchers have hit and they've been producing. And Miguel Amaya and Carson Kelly, it almost feels like they're competing for playing time, and that is always a good thing. But thanks for being here. Like, subscribe, thumbs up, and we'll do it again tomorrow. Go Cubs.